This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Get real.
You all ready for this? Dun 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 dun.
No. Y'all, just stop. This is a sham.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Daily Blast Live. It's Wednesday, hump day, December 15th. I am Tori in for Jeff. I'm here with Al and Erica. Y'all ready for this?
Yeah, you got some energy today.
I'm trying to pump it up.
You did it.
Thanks. All right. I'm sure so many of you have seen the headlines that Ben Affleck is blaming his drinking on his marriage to ex-Jennifer Garner. So Ben was on the Howard Stern show. He got very real about what kick-started his alcoholism. Here's what he had to say.
And you know what? I would have ended up probably at each other's throats. I'd probably still be drinking. You know, like It was just part of why I started drinking alcohol, because I was trapped. You know, I was like, I can't leave because of my kids, but I'm not happy. What do I do? And what I did was, like, you know, drink a bottle of scotch and fall asleep on the couch, which turned out not to be the solution.
All right, so a lot of people on social media and elsewhere are furious with Ben, saying that it was a bad move to speak so poorly about Jen, especially since she's the mother of his kids. One person tweeted, "Sounds like you're blaming your ex-wife for your drinking, scumbag." All right, I turned to Al because you recently, not recently, it's been a while since you got sober.
Okay. That's not because I'm a scumbag. I turned to our resident scumbag.
Number one. How do you feel about, I thought one of the first steps was like, I take responsibility.
That's if you don't have that step, you can't move forward with anything. I mean, Erica, I was waiting for him to blame the guy at the liquor store that sold him. The bartender. Why is the bar so close, Erica? Look, he is.
I don't mean to be laughing, but you're right.
That when I got sober, I heard this term from a friend of mine, and the term was dry drunk. And it's a person that stops drinking but doesn't do the steps and the necessary personal work to get themselves so that they are whole. Yes, it's great that you stop the drinking, but the anger, the things that cause the causality of all that stuff is still lying there. When I heard that man speak, I heard all of that. He seemed upset. He seems like he has not moved on, and he seems like he's blaming everybody but himself, Erica, and I find that quite concerning. I was really super disappointed in this interview.
No, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that the idea of dry anything, any behavior that's your vice or something that you're using as an outlet because you can't either control or you're not able to fix what the real issue is, can be applied in a lot of situations. I just heard a person who, I mean, you know, I think, here's the thing, people articulate how they're feeling, and I don't think it's ever just one thing. I think it's important to be able to articulate how you feel. Otherwise, you just implode. But when you're having these conversations, especially in a public forum, I think you just have to be aware of the idea that your ex-wife, who is beloved for like all practical
America's
purposes,
sweetheart.
People love her. You know, she seems like a very unproblematic person.
She's allowed to ask us what's in our wallet, and we're fine with it.
Exactly. Not everybody has license to do that.
Samuel Jackson and she.
Right. And she could not have been, it couldn't have been easy for her to go through all of that. And it seems like she's healed and she's moved on into a healthier place. And he's still stuck in the same place. You know, I've been in situations in my life where I have acted out in not the healthiest ways. It's caused further harm, not any good, to, you know, make the situation better. And when I look back on that time in my life, I'm always looking back on it with over accountability, because I always want to pinpoint the time that I made the decision that everything spun out of control for me and then the people around me. Because if I can get to that place, then I can fix that and make sure that that never happens again. When you're blaming it on someone else, it's their responsibility to fix it. And they're not going to, because they're going to fix whatever's going on in their life before they ever address what happened in yours, because it's not their responsibility.
It's not their responsibility. I know. And she drove your Dunkin' Donuts butt to rehab. Come on now. All right. Ben also opened up about his rekindled relationship with J-Lo. Speaking about their 2004 breakup, Ben says, wait for it, the negative media attention was partly to blame for their split. Here's what he had to say about it.
I would say it was about 50%. Like the idea that people hate you and they hate you together, and that being together is poison and ugly and toxic and thing none of us want to be part of, and who the would want to have them to dinner, and what the are they doing together?
Ben also said he was hesitant to restart their romance simply because he was looking out for his children. For timeline reasons, I do want you to know that he almost married J-Lo in 2004, and they broke up allegedly because he was already drinking, and there was problems. So again, blame on the media, blame on Jennifer Garner. The timeline's a little off. The whole interview to me is.
You know, I'm gonna go out on a limb
try and
here.
talk after that. I feel like the segment should just be over. We should just go home.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you all.
I'm gonna go out on a limb in this theory because he has invited us to have this conversation.
Yeah.
I think that this is the intersection of triangulation. What we have are two triangles. No, seriously, there's two triangles. You have Ben Affleck, who was with Jennifer Lopez, and because it wasn't easy for him to be with Jennifer Lopez because people didn't want him to be, he went with the person that people felt like this is the more appropriate choice. Not fair to Jennifer Garner at all, but that's what happened. Now, currently, going out on a limb, J-Lo really wants to be with A-Rod, right? But she can't be with A-Rod because A-Rod can't get his stuff together.
Right.
He's the person that makes the most sense for her to be with. But as a result, it's driven her back to Ben Affleck.
Whoa.
So there's two different triangles
like
that are intersecting. Right. Because why, if he's with the person who he clearly, Ben Affleck I'm talking about, wants to be with, he wants to be with J-Lo.
Yeah.
Why is he still talking about Jennifer Garner? Or what's happened over there? You know, why is he having all of these emotions about it? I think that he knows that J-Lo really still wants to be with
So it's all insecurity around everybody.
I think so.
That is interesting.
This is totally my theory, my conspiracy theory, based on nothing but my opinion.
You just hit me with that. I'm like downloading that. That's interesting. You know, I just think that the through line with all of this is Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Whether it was 2004 with the drinking or it's 2021, what are we still talking about?
Yeah.
His drinking.
You're right.
It's because there's one thing and he's blamed. Jennifer Garner, the media. First of all, him taking the stance that like everybody hated us. In 2004, they were beloved.
Yeah.
He was considered one of the most attractive young male actors out there. She was one of the most attractive young female artists out there. They were together.
That
they had a
butt shot,
nickname.
you know, that was so cool.
Everybody, what do you mean who would want to have them to dinner? I don't know, everyone.
Right.
So this idea that the whole world was against him just reminds me of somebody that you and I could know, somebody we know from our past that would just be like, oh man, I'm trying to get it together, but all these haters out here, they don't want to see me and Erica shine. It's like, no, well, you're drinking at 10 in the morning too. He's not, he never gets to that part, and that's why I feel like he has not progressed one day since this started.
Wow. Well, we haven't also addressed the atomic bomb in the relationship, which was Giggly.
Oh, Geely.
Geely.
What a movie.
That really did affect their relationship.
I think that's what really affected
I think you're right. What a dreadful, some of the script lines, gobble, gobble. Oh my God, all right. For the past 2 days, we've been talking about the Sex and the City controversy. I know Jeff would hate it. I'm here though. And spoiler alert, it has to do with why Carrie did not call 911 when Big was having a heart attack in the first episode of the reboot. Really, that's become the conversation. Now we're hearing what Mr. Big himself is saying about it. Speaking to Vogue, Chris Noth says, one thing series creator Michael Patrick King and I agreed on, we both called it the Bonnie and Clyde moment, which is when they're about to be eviscerated by bullets, they have that look with each other. They both know it's the end. He goes on to say, we knew that we had to have that I just shouldn't die alone in the bathroom. There had to be that last moment. No words, no corny dialogue, just a look.
Okay, but he didn't explain why I had to be on the very first episode. That's what explanation. It wasn't just that he's no longer with us. It's that it was immediate. We waited all this time. They've been pumping up this reboot. They've really been promising us all the characters who are going to be there, and we get a flash in the pan with Mr. Big. That's a part of the problem too.
See, I like that Big died. I like that Big died.
You have to have something in the first episode that hooks you. Erica? I don't know how many shows that you and your man are watching, but I would guess most Americans are watching 6 to 8 shows pretty seriously. If this show is going to get into that rotation, they got to do something the first episode to make you come back. And we are talking about this for 3 days now this week. But I think it was a great plot point. You need something to talk about, to argue about. I think writing-wise, I think this was the move to go. You got to lose a major character. That's why people love Game of Thrones, because anybody could die at any time.
And let me just say this.
The
Red Wedding, remember?
Oh, man.
But I just have to say this. I think that they thought the conversation would be about grief and about moving on. And really, it really was about, you might have wanted a Bonnie and Clyde moment, moment, but it did not come off as Bonnie and Clyde. It came off as, I don't know how to save someone.
You know, here's the issue. We are so invested in these characters. Like, I was so excited, even when they were salting the fish. I was like, you know what? I need to salt the fish with my husband. Like, I was just so excited. I was like, what kind of, is that Chablis? What are they drinking? You know, like, I was just so in it. And I was just, you know, just living my life, just watching it. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I know they did not.
Yeah.
I didn't say it like that.
Yeah.
That's for TV. But I was like, I know this just did not happen.
I think you needed a tragedy.
Disappointing.
I agree with that.
The title of the reboot is in Just Like That, and just like that,
he died.
A main character is gone.
Amen.
Well done.
It's like Shakespearean, right?
And just like that, I am not happy.
Yes. But will you watch episode 2? I submit that you will.
I watched episode 2.
And
still
3.
not happy.
You're going to watch 3 coming up on DBL. Our interview with author Diane Danvers. She recounts the night her mother left to go live with college kids. But first, Peloton is in hot water again. But this time it's over the company holiday party. We'll tell you about it coming up next.
Closed captioning provided by
Another thing about And Just Like That, they knew they did wrong anyway, because that's why they dropped 2 episodes at the same time. Where they do that at? Why they do that? I'm just asking. I'm asking because I know they were like, people are going to be so upset, they're going to start boycotting. We need something to temper what just happened. So they dropped the first 2 episodes of a highly anticipated series at the same time. They knew they did wrong. They knew it.
But do you think this could be a teaching moment? Because
I don't know.
to bring this semi-around seriously, a lot of people that identify with Carrie
No, I know, but I don't know if that can carry
also have
for
to
3
identify with
minutes or
just
whatever.
losing somebody suddenly for whatever reason. So seeing how she
No, I'm just
handles
trying- I can get them
his
fired.
death
Sure,
throughout
I'll do
this
that. I'll do
character
that.
arc of this season, I think could be a template for people that have identified with her since she was a 20-year-old writer in New York.
Okay, I hear you. That's fair. Maybe in 2019, not in 2021, when we've all been dealing with constant grief and loss. We don't want to see it. We do not want to see it. We don't want to have a reminder of what's happening in real life. We were looking forward to this for escapism. And the truth is, like, I know it's gonna sound ridiculous, but I do identify with that relationship. Like, people would say to me when my husband and I got married, they're like, you married your big. I'm like, I absolutely married my big. Yeah. Like, there was something there, and I was like super, like, it was personal because I was so invested.
Yeah, no,
and then
I know,
the idea of, like, you know, I know so many people who have lost spouses, you know, mothers. It's just in a very short period of time. We just weren't ready. We weren't ready.
Well, that, I mean, putting it like that makes me think about it, and I wonder, like, should the writers have thought about that? I remember talking to a friend of mine that watches a lot of Bollywood movies because he's from India, and he was like, that's why they have so happy.
Welcome back to DBL. It's another day, so we're talking about Peloton. Peloton's coming under fire again, just days after the stock fell due to the And Just Like That episode. So the company's founder recently hosted this lavish holiday party. Instructors and their plus ones were invited, but not other employees. To make matters worse, the company recently imposed a hiring freeze and canceled plans for a company-wide party in order to save money. After the backlash, the founder sent the staff an email saying it was a personal party for friends, family, and some Peloton instructors, and not affiliated with Peloton in any way. So let's take it and be relatable. It's your holiday party. It's your business. It's DBL here. They take some people out. They cancel our holiday party. I'm in the dark crying, shaking alone. I mean, I would feel bad. What do you guys think?
I think that it's his party and he can do what he wants to.
Oh, it's like a song.
Yeah.
It's my party.
Yeah. Especially since it was a personal party. Like, I mean, obviously, for me, I we have a Super Bowl thing, okay, everybody can come. But that's because there's a budget that I have set up knowing that everyone can come. If I'm having a holiday party and I want to elevate it more, I'm not inviting everybody the same way that most people aren't inviting me. When was it written anywhere that you have to invite everyone to your home or your function?
Well, let me ask you this, and I hear you, but what if I said to you, Peloton made $11 billion last year, and they said they're cutting staff and they're cutting the holiday party? Does that not leave kind of a weird feeling in your...
No.
Okay.
That's this man's money.
Okay.
He can spend it how he wants. This is an asinine thing. I do not understand this at all. Like when people have asked me before, like, oh, well, why didn't you invite so-and-so? Okay, well, this is how much I'm paying per head. You want to invite so-and-so? Venmo me that money. Like, I mean, to be honest about it, like when you're having a function, you know what your budget is. And you also know what your budget is in order to make it to the standard that you want it to be.
But you also know
like
about
throwing
optics,
a wedding.
But you know about optics. Was this not bad optics?
You know what the optics that count on this and what they were really thinking about was how it came across for the bonding on social media. Who drives that? The instructors that people know and are actually going to recognize. Wow. So it has nothing to do with like feelings. Like this is just a party that a private citizen, although he is the head of a company, threw. I mean, how many times does this happen? It happens all the time. There are people that you're closer with that you're going to be like, oh, of course you're going to come. And then also my neighbor. And then also the guy from church. And then there's people that you're not.
Wow. Al, you agree?
I
yes
agree.
Or no? I agree. Wow.
Yes.
Thank you for that beautiful soliloquy. Coming up on DBL, a woman picks up the pieces after her mother leaves her at just 16. Her unbelievable story coming up next.
Just like a 90s blockbuster, NASA is studying how to defend Earth from a hazardous asteroid. The space agency launched a satellite last month and plans to crash it into an asteroid as part of the Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART. Soon after the launch, people began posting tweets like these, concerned the crash could send the asteroid hurtling toward Earth. So, let's verify. Does a NASA test to redirect an asteroid pose a risk to Earth?
Our sources are NASA, Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory, the European Space Agency, and Dr. Tom Statler, a program scientist for the DART mission.
NASA says it wants to be prepared should an asteroid ever pose a threat to Earth. It decided to test whether something could alter an asteroid's path, like a satellite, if it crashed with enough force. So researchers developed DART and selected an asteroid that does not pose a threat to Earth.
All we're trying to do is make a change in the asteroid motion that is large enough for us to measure and understand how, in practice, we might apply this if we ever get in a situation where we have to apply it on a real asteroid that's dangerous.
If everything goes as planned, the crash will only slightly alter the asteroid's course. And the European Space Agency says the asteroid will still be more than 10 million kilometers from Earth when DART hits, posing no threat to the planet.
There is just no way DART is big enough, change the orbit of the asteroid enough for it to become a danger to Earth.
So, it's false that a NASA test to redirect an asteroid poses a risk to Earth. The satellite should hit the asteroid in the fall of next year. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back. When is a parent done being a parent? For Diane Danvers Simmons, the answer is age 16. That's when her mother left and moved in with college students. Diane is sharing her story in her new book, My Mother Next Door. We spoke with her earlier. Take a look.
Diane, thank you so much for joining our show and just being so open and real with us. We appreciate you. So walk us through what happened. How did your mom leave?
A week after my 16th birthday, I arrived home from school when my 60-year-old Irish Catholic mother announced to me over a cup of tea that she was done and she was going to leave the next day and move to the house she'd gone and bought directly next door. Now, I clearly didn't believe her in that moment. But the next day, you know, we all had Saturday jobs. So the next day on the Saturday, I get home from school, deathly silence, no note, no number, nothing. And it hits me. she's gone and done it. So she basically moved next door to start a whole new life with, as I say, these bunch of hot college students that she'd been renting her house out to. But not only did she do that, I went, obviously, to find out, you know, have you really left, Mum? She hadn't told my father. So that night, when my dad came home from work, I had to be the bearer of her lunacy. I had to tell him.
Oh as a mother, my heart is breaking for you to have endured that. What was did you ever find out what her exact reason was for leaving? Did she tell you why she was done?
Yeah, my mother was a brutally honest person. And in her mind, and I remember these words so well, she said to me, I've given you and your father 16 years of my life, and I'm done. Because she said to me, you know, you're big and ugly enough to take care of yourself and your dad and your dog. Because she had left Ireland at age 16. So in her mind,
just like Erica
it was
says.
okay.
Yep. Right.
Wow. Yep.
You know, and so that's this story, you know, you talk about unpacking why our parents do the things they do. That's why I wrote this story.
Wow.
Because until you delve deep, until you are willing to really try and get to the root cause of people's behavior, you'll never know.
Generational trauma. Wow. Paint the picture of what it was like when you went over to your mom's new house. Like, was she partying? Was she a different person? And how did your relationship change?
It definitely changed. It was surreal. It was, you know, it was like I was kind of hovering, observing this new world that my AKA mother, this new woman, was living in. You know, the tension had eased. And even though she was still very opinionated, strong-minded, I didn't have to deal with this conflict 24/7 between her and my father, all the siblings, the blended family, and everything else. And I saw this transformation in her. It's like she lit up. The convenience of having her next door.
Sure.
But the inconvenience and pain of witnessing this, having it slapped in my face every single day, that she was now taking care of a bunch of young guys.
So, Diane, do you consider her, when you characterize it, do you characterize it as her being a bad mother?
You know, it's interesting. A lot of people have asked me this question. And no.
Wow.
She wasn't a bad mother for leaving. She was a bad mother for the way she did it.
Wow.
That was just so much weight to put on you. So I had to ask you before we wrap, do you forgive your mother? Because I could understand either way.
Yes, I do, because I never actually remember blaming her. Her story, her personality are both complex, and I go back into her background so you can understand. And I came to understand why she did the things she did. But, you know, I don't write this as a story of sadness. I write it as it celebrates the human spirit. The fact that we need to open up more. We need to take the time to understand who our mothers were, who they are now, and maybe what their dreams are in the future.
Wow. So
and
many
how
layers.
That impacts us.
Wow.
So many
layer
layers.
upon layer.
Yep, we got to read your book. In fact, DBL Nation, to learn more about Diane and her mother's story, please visit the website, Mothers and Daughters, Unfiltered.com. You can also purchase her book, My Mother Next Door. It's anywhere books are sold. Wow. You are a remarkable woman. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diane.
I really appreciate it.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
What?
That sound means it is time to verify before misinformation takes off. It's time to land the truth on this question about holiday air travel. Viewer Brenda Wagner wrote to the Verify team and explained she and her daughter are traveling to New York from Raleigh-Durham on the 16th of this month. She asked, are we supposed to be COVID tested before we go? That's a great question. To verify, I looked at the U.S. State Department's International Travel Advisory. I consulted the Federal Transit Administration and CDC and looked at the New York State Health Department's travel rules. They conclude no, Brenda doesn't need to test before or after her flight from RDU to New York. As of June 25th, New York dropped its travel advisory that had required incoming travelers to submit health forms and be subject to quarantine. However, if Brenda were traveling internationally, she would need to get a negative test before flying back to the U.S. The Biden administration's new international air travel policy took effect December 6th. Every traveler ages 2 and older, regardless of nationality or vaccine status, must show proof of a negative COVID test taken within 1 day of the flight's departure. PCR, rapid, and self-tests all qualify as long as they meet CDC requirements. Currently, there is no federal rule for testing before or after domestic travel, although like we saw briefly in New York, cities can impose their own stricter rules. Keep in mind the TSA is enforcing the CDC order on masks on both international U.S. and domestic flights. This took effect January 21st and requires face masks on all transportation network flights and public transportation. So in conclusion, we verified no, you don't need to get a COVID test before or after domestic air travel. You do need one after international travel and must take it within 1 day of your flight back to the U.S. Several other countries have similar or even more stringent COVID protocols prior to or after flying. In Italy, for example, air travelers have to show proof of vaccine or have to isolate for 5 days after arrival. So bottom line, always check the rules for your destination and know those rules could change while you're there.
Verify here with your Fast Fact. The cleanup continues in parts of the Midwest and South after a massive tornado caused widespread damage. Several people wondered on social media if it's rare to see a tornado outbreak in December, since tornado season is usually in the spring. So let's verify. Is it rare for there to be a severe tornado outbreak in December? These are our sources. The U.S. averages about 1,200 tornadoes a year, and since they require warm, moist air to form, they're more common in the spring. That doesn't mean they can't happen in the winter. On average, about 24 tornadoes occur in December, usually in the deep south, where the weather is still warmer, although most are nowhere near the strength of the tornado that hit last week.
In December, it's very, very uncommon, almost unprecedented.
A weather report archivist found there were more tornado warnings issued on December 10th than on any other December day since at least 2001. So it's true, it's rare for there to be a severe tornado outbreak in December. With your Fast Fact, I'm Brandon Lewis.
All right, before we go, you have to see this crazy video from a family in South Africa. They found a poisonous snake in their Christmas tree. You can see the snake peering out. It's called a boom slang snake, which is the most venomous snake in Africa.
Look how casually he's holding that. Wow. Yeah.
He's a snake handler, right?
Sneaky snake Christmas tree. No good. No good. DBL's New Every Day. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Check your Christmas trees.